Greetings and salutations, everyone. I am, as always, darthdevious, bringing you another video review. This time, the Voyager class, RID, Transformers Prime, Starscream. Yep, Starscream. So let's start off. We'll start talking about some of the things I like about this. I like how the thruster is blue back here. He's not as fat as the first edition. I'll bring the first edition in a minute and show him off with him. They've got a nice dull paint on the flaps and edges of the wings, which is nice. Nice little touch that didn't need to be done. Of course, it means they skimped on paint elsewhere, but what can you do? A few things I don't like. I really don't like this hinge here. I know why it's there, but I really don't like it, and I don't like the hinges here. You know, the first edition had far less hinges showing on the plane mode, but, you know, what can you do? There's plane mode, he's got his missiles. Now, undercarriage, it's his legs, there's his head, you know. His arms hide away really nice in this mode. It's a shame his legs don't, but what can you do? I mean, it's a plane former. His undercarriage kibble is nowhere near as bad as Dreadwing's. So this is his stupid weapon that he comes with, you know, the lights. Ooh, look at the lights, look at the lights. Yeah, you put it on them so your plane can have zero aerodynamics as it's flying. Useless. 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 You can peg it in under the wing. There's a peg there on either side. Yeah, so we'll get rid of that. One cool thing before I bring in the first edition to compare them with. Take these off. If you have like the classic Seeker mold or Masterpiece or even G1, now I can't show you this with G1 because my G1 stuff's packed away, but if you take like the classic Seeker weapon, it'll fit in there. Ho ho ho. Masterpiece, it'll fit in there. The missiles don't. The null rays do. The null rays from the Masterpiece are kind of loose here, but they fit in his arm nicely. So, I'll show you that in robot mode. So yeah, you can put those on there. I'll show them off in robot mode again. You know, that's a nice little added bonus that, you know, didn't have to be done. Now here's one thing I don't like. You can see all the way through him. See? Ooh, right there. There's a hole in your jet, man. You're going to crash. Alright. So we bring in the first edition. Other than being a lot bigger, of course, you know, deluxe Voyager, you can see his undercarriage is a lot thinner, a little bit more streamlined, but as I pointed out in the review of this one, you can argue that this is an F-16 fighter jet. An F-16 Falcon. If you look at a picture of an F-16 Falcon from the front, it's kind of what it looks like. There's the engine intake, and it has a single exhaust in the back. It passable as that. This one, I don't know what jet it's supposed to be. It's just a generic jet, but that's okay. That's fine. Alrighty. I'll get him into robot mode, and we'll take another look at him. Be right back. Okay, here's Starscream in his robot mode and looking very thin and emaciated and everything else and hunched over, just like on the show. Nice silver on his thighs here. Not too crazy about the clear purple, but you know, they all have clear something on them, so I can deal with that. His shoulders are a little bit more show accurate. Unfortunately, with the back part of the plane being here on his ankles instead of his backpack like the first edition, you lose that wonderful jetpack that was back there on the first edition. You know, I kind of like that. He's not too bad. I mean, he's got, you know, decent articulation, head's on a nice ball joint, so he can even look behind him if you need to. I'm dizzy. Shoulders, you know, they can go all the way around. You might hit the wings, but that's not a big deal. He's got an upper bicep swivel. One thing he has that the first edition doesn't have, ball jointed wrists. So that's a nice little addition there. You know, ball jointed hips, swivel at the thigh, which is actually needed for transformation, so that's not too bad. Nice knee. A little bit of pivot in the foot. Now, one thing that is also nice is because these are here, he's got a much more stable footprint than the first edition has. First edition likes to fall over a lot. So, we get to some of the bad points. A lot of people have pointed this out. This waist joint does not tab in. So, you know, it's almost like he's got one of those G.I. Joe judo chop actions. Yeah, but I don't think that was what they meant to do with the toy. Anyway. Also, he looks a little too hollow in here. It's just me, I guess. I don't know. And those are supposed to be red in there on the show. And they're coming off blue. I'm probably going to repaint some of the stuff on him. Head sculpt's pretty nice. He's not smirking as much as the first editions is. He looks a little bit more serious. But still nice. I mean, they gave him... there goes that waist joint. They gave him a purple light piping joint here, light piping part here, and then they painted his eyes red. So, go figure. If you wanted his eyes red, just give him red light piping. We'll bring in the first edition. And you can see he's a lot smaller in his robot mode. But he's also, you know, really good looking in other ways. So, I mean, like I said, there's the jetpack like he's got on the show. He also has his trouble standing. Yeah. Recently on him, I don't know if it's going to come out on the camera, I added the white pupils to his eyes. They give his eyes a little bit, it's not really showing up on this camera. It's just faintly done, just to give him a little bit more personality. I'm probably going to do it to the big one too. So you can see them together. They actually look good together. I still prefer the first edition over this one, but he's not a bad version of Starscream. Now there is one thing that is bad about him. He's out of scale with a lot of the other figures from this line. Case in point, Megatron. Starscream's supposed to be smaller than Megatron. He's pretty much, his head is, with the little crest, is actually higher than Megatron's, and with his wings is a lot higher. Yeah. This is more closer to their actual scale on the show when you put these two together. So you see, that's a problem, but it's a minor one. I mean, if you just want the Starscream figure, then get Starscream. So, alright. Just like I said, I was going to show you, I'll take the missiles off. That's another thing I like. He has single missiles. The first edition's got the cluster. I wish I could get these to fit on my first edition. But again, you can take your classic Seeker mold weapons, or your Masterpiece weapons, or even G1. You can put these on him. Yeah. You found a Cybertron relic. Null Ray, a big one. So now, I didn't come up with this, with the fitting these other weapons on there. My friend Tom Chambers Jr. actually showed this to me. He showed me a picture. He's like, hey, did you know this? And at the time I didn't have this Starscream figure, so I really couldn't do anything about it. But now that I do, I promised him I would show everybody and give him credit for it. So Tom, there's your credit. Thank you for showing me that, dude. That was really cool. Alright, now, you're seeing here, I keep having a problem here with his chest. This does not peg in very well. Every time you move his shoulders, this comes apart. I don't like that. It's a good thing I don't move him too much. Alright, I think I've talked about him enough. Should you get him? Well, if you want Starscream from the show, this is probably the easiest way to get him. It's tough to get the first edition. Even though they're re-releasing those, there's still no guarantee. And, you know, he does have a few added points of articulation that help him. So if you want Starscream from the show and you don't mind that he's a little bit taller than Megatron, go for it. He's not a bad figure. He's kind of fun. There's a few nitpicks, but they're not as bad as some of the other figures I've nitpicked about. And, you know, I think that's going to be it for this. So, as always, you all be good. I'm going to send him to you armed with all of this. If you're not, you have been warned.